The boxing world has lost a real treasure in Kenny Norton, former heavyweight contender and then briefly champion. Ken Norton was not only a superb boxer, he was a terrific human being. I was privileged to know him very well. And thirdly, something people may have forgotten, he was a terrific broadcaster when he did shows on NBC for about a year-and-a-half or 2-year period. And I think had he continued on that path, would have been one of the best broadcasters ever to do this sport as a color analyst. Of course, we know about his great trilogy with Muhammad Ali. He was given one of those fights, lost the other two by very close decision. I personally feel he could easily have been given the decision in all three, and I certainly believe he won the third one in Yankee Stadium. Ken Norton's style was kryptonite to Ali, partially because Norton had one of the very best jabs of any heavyweight of that time or any time. If you go back and look at Norton's fights, check them out on YouTube against Larry Holmes and Ali and others, you will see a fantastic jab. And I mentioned Larry Holmes a moment ago. When he and Larry Holmes fought in 1978, that fight was spectacular. It was one of the best heavyweight title matches, I think, of all time. Certainly in the top 5. It was a great fight all the way through, with Holmes doing very well early, Norton doing well in the middle rounds, and then great back and forth in the last 4 or 5 rounds. And this, remember, was a 15-round fight. Now, I thought that Kenny Norton won the last round, round 15, which the judges ended up giving to Holmes, and Holmes won by 1 point on the scorecards. I thought it was a great fight, and that fight, as well as anything, demonstrates what Kenny Norton was all about, even though in a very, very close loss. He had signature wins over a number of excellent fighters, including, of course, I mentioned Ali, Jerry Corey, and a bunch of others during his time. So he had a great career aside from the fights with Ali, but those fights with Ali clearly are what put him on the map. He had trouble with the big punchers, George Foreman and Ernie Shavers specifically. Later he was knocked out by Jerry Cooney, but he was much older then. So only the 2 of the biggest punchers in heavyweight history, Shavers and Foreman, were able to really defeat him. Jose Luis Garcia knocked him out early in his career, but he came back and avenged that loss. So we're going to miss Kenny Norton on many levels. He's a terrific, terrific man who suffered some things in his life, like a terrible car accident later in life that robbed him of part of his speech and mobility, which was a shame. But I'll tell you what no one could ever rob Kenny Norton of: his sense of humor and his grace as a human being. He will be sorely missed, not only by those of us that knew him, but by every boxing fan who enjoyed what he did for the sport of boxing back in the 70s and 80s.